There are actually only 3 Christmas albums. The Elvis Christmas, I'll have a blue Christmas without you. The Jackson 5 Christmas, Oh Frosty, and Patsy Cline's 21-track platinum hit collection, I'll go out walking after midnight. Now, I know what you're thinking. Frosty the Snowman is not actually Christmas music. But like historically, friends, neither is Patsy Cline. But this is a story about how Patsy Cline became a central voice in my family's Christmas canon. So in the mid-90s, in the heyday of amassing large quantities of CDs to replace vinyl, a strange thing happened, and my parents, independently of one another, late one November, each purchased a copy of Patsy Cline's 21-track platinum hits collection. And I knew my folks had great taste in music because I had studied the vinyl in our house for years and under a especially keen eye when I had mono for a year. And so my dad has been a jazz blues man his whole life. And my mom, Joan Baez and Bob Dylan, huge Dylan fan. But not like the crazy pot-smoking, protesty Dylan fan. She was much more of a sensible, I read Russian literature at the beach kind of Dylan fan. And so what I hadn't thought about is that, that was the late 60s, 70s, 80s, but it was Patsy Cline who actually was the soundtrack of her life in the 50s when she was a teenager. And that December, I got a chance to peek into that world and actually recreate or create something new with it. So we had these 2 discs, and we made good use of them. One in the car, one in the house. We listened to Patsy Cline on repeat that entire December, while driving, while cooking, while reading, while hanging out. We listened to Patsy Cline. She was coming into our ears all Advent. And at the beginning of my learning her corpus, I was talking, falling into these songs with my mom and this heartbreak and despondency, and I turned to my mom and I said, "My God, this woman, she must have had such a hard life." And while I would later learn that that was in fact the case, my mom took that opportunity to to teach me the difference between a singer, a songwriter, and a singer-songwriter. Because you see, I didn't know it was possible. I didn't know it was possible that someone could inhabit a story and convey it so empathetically, that someone could communicate someone else's story with so much raw sentiment. It was all the hopes, the hurts, and the ambivalence. So one by one, my older brothers and sisters came home from college and real life that December, and we taught each one of them Patsy's music. And she began to sing our song. We sang with her verbatim, and as we did, her voice hung in our house. It saturated the ether, and it took up all the spaces in between, marking us with new memory. And now 7 years later, her voice still is like a witness to our Christmas story. Not all the nativity and all that, but how our kitchen smelled on Wild Duck Road. The sound of early mornings with the fireplace roaring. And what it felt like to actually have my brothers and sisters back. These people who had left immeasurable impressions all over me and then disappeared. And their exits in my life at home was made me into some sort of only child by circumstance. And I was so glad to shed that skin, that totally uncomfortable skin. So we live in a time where Christmas music is so overplayed, and I would argue for all the wrong reasons, that it's kind of empty. And to me, it's actually really difficult to enjoy, unless it's all the churchy stuff. I really delight in having Patsy Cline as this alternative that keeps on giving, because you see, her voice can take me places that those other songs can no longer go. And in just a week, I'm going to go back to that place. I'm going to fall back into the rhythms of family ritual, all that blessed ordinary, and I'm going to fall back in love, and we are going to retell, relive, remember our Christmas story.